Hi everyone, welcome to Inspirational Vine Convos with Alicia. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't taken a look at some of the previous videos, go check them out right now. We've been talking about those fruits of the Spirit found in Galatians 5 verses 22. The foundation of this child, the scripture that we're always coming from is John chapter 15 verses 1 and 2, where it reads, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. A couple of verses below that, in verses 5, the one is right behind me. It says, I am the vine, and you are the branches, that is us. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So we're looking at those fruits of the Spirit. This time around, we're looking at long suffering, guys. All right. So when I think of long suffering, it makes me kind of think of this song by John P. Key, who is a gospel artist, and one of his songs he has is called Lilly in the Valley. And in the beginning of that song, he says, in this life, everybody shall have a valley experience. But those that know while they're going through, Jesus will never leave you nor forsake you. Now, that lily, we could think of that lily as Jesus, that bright morning star, that even when you're in your darkest times, that Jesus is the light. But sometimes it feels like we're in the dark. We start to question, why, God? Why am I in this place? What is happening? Why did you allow this to happen to me, God? Are not you the God of the utmost high? If you are, then why are you allowing this to happen? Have you ever questioned God, like, why? Why am I experiencing this, God? If you ever question God, you're not alone, because like I said, I've questioned it myself. I've asked, like, why is this happening to me? But our spiritual ancestor, Job, also asked why. And we can see this in the book of Job. For those of you who may not be as familiar with Job, Job is a man that is seen as blameless. He's seen as a faithful servant of God. He is obedient. Job is also married, and he has children as well. Job's social status, like his demographics, he is seen as to be quite wealthy. He had a lot of animals, and in that particular time, having all these different livestock, it is seen as someone who is quite wealthy. So he was wealthy. His character traits showed that he was faithful. He was a faithful servant. He was obedient. He was a husband, and he was a father as well. But here in Job chapter 1, and let me say this, my voice may sound a little different. You may hear me sniffing. I'm trying to do my best. Just please be patient with me. The allergies right now, they are not my best friends, and they are trying to take over. So just be patient with me. So in Job chapter 1, if you look at verse 6, it says, one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. So if you recall, Satan was also, originally Satan was an angel, but because of his pride, he became very full of himself. And matter of fact, part of my Bible right here, it says Satan, originally an angel of God, had become corrupt in his own pride. He has been evil since his rebellion against God. Therefore, he seeks to destroy what God is doing in your life. And if you go a little further in verse 7, then the Lord said to Satan, where have you come from? Satan answered the Lord, from roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth. You see how the devil is so busy. He's always seeking to plot and to plan. And here, if you keep reading, God and Satan actually have a conversation. And God actually says to him, have you considered my servant Job? He actually says that in verses 8. And in verse 9, Satan is actually telling God, listen, you give Job everything. He's wealthy, he's married, he's got kids, all of this stuff. But I'm telling you, God, that he will curse you. He will say, forget all about you if you take all of those things away from him. So God, listen how God responded in verse 12. The Lord said to Satan, very well, then everything he has is in your power. But on the man himself, do not lay a finger. And in my Bible, it tells me that as God is saying, do not lay a finger, that means that God still limits what Satan does. In this instance, the suffering is coming from the devil. The devil is plotting and he is attacking against Job. He's putting him through this test. But the Lord still has the utmost power by limiting Satan as well. So in the first part of chapter 1, we see that Job's possessions are all taken away. Everything that made him wealthy, all of it destroyed. All of the animals that he had destroyed. We see the people that worked for him, his servants, they were destroyed as well. And the thing that really got me, in verses 18, it says, while he was still speaking, yet another messenger came and said, someone is telling, a couple of verses above this, you'll see that someone is telling Job what is happening, what has been destroyed in his life. So this messenger came and said, this is verse 18, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept from the desert and struck the four corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead. And I am the only one who has escaped to tell you. This is how Job responds. At this, verse 20, Job got up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. People experience grief in many different ways. I know we see different celebrities on TV and we start to judge them. Or we see people in our family when something tragic has happened to them. We don't understand what they're doing. A lot of times our response is, listen, painful things happen to everybody in the world. I lost my mom, I lost my daddy, I lost this, that, and the other, and you still see I'm still standing. Sometimes people have a difficult time with allowing you to grieve, or not knowing how to respond to you in your grief. Now, Job didn't hide his grief, but look at what he said after that, though. Then he fell to the ground and worshiped. That sounds strange. Job fell to the ground and worshiped, and he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. In verse 22, in all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. Job passed the test. Job passed the first round of what Satan was trying to destroy him. Satan's idea was, listen, if I take all of that stuff away, Job will do nothing but curse God. He will say, forget God. God isn't real. And he will leave God. Because remember, Job was seen as a faithful and blameless man. But what did Job do? Job did something that was the complete opposite of what people expected him to do, was to give up on God. But instead, he still kept his faith. So the idea here, in this first part of this video, that as I've been reading and studying, is that we have learned, just from this first part, that we love God for who he is and not for what he gives. We love him from who he is and not for what he gives. Job lost everything, y'all, even his children, but he still was faithful to God. That says that he is with you no matter what you have experienced. But listen, there is more to this story. Stay tuned for the next part of us talking about Job. You guys remember to stay connected to the vine, and God bless you. All right, bye.